Hello and how you doing, and welcome back to Two Jagoffs. I am your host, Austin Cairns, right here in Point Park University's Media Hub. And ladies and gentlemen, we're bringing on yet again another very special guest here on the podcast today to have a great conversation with. This is actually someone that I began my 880 wrestling journey with, surprisingly enough, which we'll probably talk about in this episode. Please welcome 880 ring announcer, commentator in professional wrestling, Eamon Paton to the podcast. Eamon, it's good to see you.
It's a long time coming. I'm excited to be here. I've been watching a long time. Love Two Jagoffs. Love everything that you've been putting out, and it's an honor. It's a total honor to be here, and very excited.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I've had the voice of a lot of different people on here. I've had the voice of the Pirates on. I've had the voice of the Penguins on. The voice of the Steelers. The voice of 880.
I'm in great company.
You're in great company. And now I got the ring announcer of 880 Wrestling. Also the voice of VCW, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Victory Championship Wrestling. Absolutely.
There we go. We're making it happen. This is great. This is a long time coming. I do want to ask you, though, because since you're obviously doing something very similar to what I'm doing and what I'm trying to get into, what made you get into professional wrestling? What made you want to do this?
Oh, well, fan-wise, I was a big TV sort of like channel surfer when I was younger. My parents were very much just like put him in front of a television. And just let me run wild basically. And I was scrolling channels. This was in 2002, so I would have been about 9, I believe. And I came across an episode of Raw. It was the lead up to the Triple H Shawn Michaels SummerSlam, so Shawn's comeback thing. And if anyone remembers, there was like this massive sort of like storyline where Shawn gets like attacked in the parking lot and like bloody, and it looked like a crime scene, like, very cinematic thing. And me as a child who's watched, I would watch like maybe like, Law and Order and stuff like that. And I would just think it was something like that where it's like, whoa, what is this? And then just watching further being like, oh, the transition into a wrestling ring. Like, what is this? And like, that was like the first memory. And then like, I just kind of became obsessive and hooked ever since then. My dad was also someone who like really fostered it, like, 'cause he was a big fan from like the 80s and 90s, and so he kind of built me up in that regard. Just watching consistently and obsessively, and then continuing that on into my teens and into my 20s. Falling in love with independent wrestling was I think also the big into me realizing that there's something that you could do that's like more possible, because obviously WWE and things like that feel very like, broad and wide. And so once I went to college, I went to University of Texas, San Antonio, got to explore a lot more independent wrestling, got, encompassed in the business, and honestly, a lot of like luck, really. I think, me doing commentary was a dream job of mine, obviously, but like never something I really thought was possible. I really kind of lucked into a lot of the positions, and then like it ended up, being something that I've been doing for 13 years now. So I'm very, very happy with how everything's kind of turned out.
And this all began down in Texas, right? This is where you're originally from?
So I'm born in Michigan, but okay. I moved to Texas when I was 4. Corpus Christi, Texas, which if anyone knows, it's like the southern part, like right by the Gulf of Mexico. Lived there most of my life. There wasn't really a lot of other outside. There was like a little independent stuff there. Like we would get maybe a lucha show typically every once in a while, but it wasn't until I moved to San Antonio. And once I did, like I had some like independence. Yeah, I had my own car. I like just would study for a week, and then like on the weekends I would just find an indie show and just take in them as much as I could, because it was like, it was like Christmas Day every weekend, basically, to like,
Now, I shared with a lot of people on the podcast my journey, obviously getting to 880 Wrestling. Obviously, I started off volunteering, doing production stuff with IWC, and then I started doing commentary there. And then I did the same thing with 880, and now I'm on commentary every week there. What was your first big break? Like, especially for a lot of the younger listeners out there who's looking to get into wrestling or any kind of commentary, what was like your first big break? Like, how did you make it to the commentator's desk?
So It's fascinating. So we both know Sorg, who
love
does
Sorg.
The Wrestling Mayhem show, but also does production for 880 Wrestling. I met Sorg just as a fan from the Wrestling Mayhem show, because I was exploring, wrestling stuff, obviously, and found his podcast, and we kind of developed a friendship from there to where I was a contributor at a certain point, and guest host. At many points. There was a point where Sorg kind of wanted to expand to do more independent stuff, and he knew that was something that was really like very learned on. Like I really loved like, you know, the Ring of Honors, the PWGs. Like I was like buying tapes and like all that stuff, and was getting involved in going to more independent shows in the Texas scene. So we were planning to do like a spin-off called the Indie Mayhem Show, and we were going to do like interviews if we could with people up here in Pittsburgh on his end, and I was going to grab some guys in Texas possibly. So I was reaching out to people, did a couple of like filmed interviews that were just like kind of on the fly things, and that's where I met a guy by the name of Biss, who was the lead commentator for an indie company down in Austin called Anarchy Championship Wrestling, which was kind of one of the bigger independent names in Texas at the time. They were one of the first ones that were really doing stuff that was like broadcasting outside of Texas, because Texas is very insular for the independent scene, or was definitely at the time for many years, like because the state is so big. It was very difficult for wrestlers to break out and travel. So they were bringing in independent names from like Ring of Honor and all that kind of stuff. I met Biz through there to like just to set up these interviews, basically. Interviewed him as well. We hit it off. We developed a really close friendship in terms of that. He then left that company beginning of like 2013. And then I remember we still maintained contact and we're good friends. And we went up to a show in Houston. It was myself, Biss, and another friend of mine, Ellis, who they did merchandise for Anarchy Championship Wrestling. They were the merch person essentially, and they were somebody who like I would sleep on their couch like to come up for shows and all that stuff. So we were incredibly close, and we were on this car ride up to Houston, and he told me that he was starting his own company. He wanted to start this company called Inspire Pro Wrestling in Austin, and that it was something he was planning on doing. And I was like, yeah, and you know, we would love to, you know, promote it, do anything, you know, whatever. And then like a week later after that trip, I get like a text message from Biss being like, hey, would you like to be our lead commentator? And I was 20 years old at the time, just about to turn 20, I think. So it was
big pressure.
Yeah, it was and it was going to be a big, he had big plans for it too. Like there was going to, you know, be a lot of like top level talents there, and like, you know, was looking to actually really build something special. And I just said yes and was like, you know, I'll see how it goes basically. So like, that's why I say like, sometimes it's just total luck and the right opportunity and just meeting
right place
the right
at the
person.
right time. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I met, he was doing it with another guy named Max Meehan, who I met like maybe a handful of times at other shows. And it was his first foray into wrestling as well. So, you know, I credit them more than anything in terms of like my opportunity, because they put a ton of trust in me to do that and have that job.
And how long have you did commentary down in Texas for?
So in Texas, because I left in 2022, so about 9 years. I had been with Inspire pretty much the whole time. I had done some other stuff for a couple other companies around the area. Metroplex Wrestling in Dallas, I did a little bit of stuff for. I know some may recognize they did some recent stuff with Ring of Honor and all that. So yeah, I would do anything that I could. I would love getting the reps in. I love doing all that. But Inspire was definitely, I would consider them my home company for the most part.
And then you moved up this way, and now you're doing 880 and VCW.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes. VCW was my first one.
VCW first. Okay.
And Sorg got me into that as well, which I'm very grateful for. Getting to work with Beastman up there, and it's been just a hell of a time. I've been loving the scene. I really love Pittsburgh from afar. Both the city in general, but also the scene. And so it's been really cool to get integrated there, and also with 880 as well.
Oh, absolutely. What was those introductions like? Was it just Sorg through be like, hey, this is Beastman. Hey, this is 880?
Yeah. I was like, oh, there's an opening here. There's a possibility for something. And I had been, you know, I think, you know, because I had moved in like September, and I kind of didn't know if this was something that, it's hard because when you get so used to being in a state and you get such a rhythm and a routine, and this is something that, you know, I could, you know, who knows, maybe there would be a big opportunity down the line, but I love just contributing to the companies that I am. I love, you know, doing what I can in that respect. And so when I moved, I was kind of like, well, maybe that's a new chapter gone, right? But no, getting that opportunity now with VCW and 880, like, you know, I think in the last like couple years, it's like really reinvigorated that passion too, and so it's been such a fun time.
Absolutely. And I mean, you're doing ring announcing and you're doing a little bit of commentary. Obviously, 880, we all kind of like switch around positions a little bit. Sometimes Toddy's ring announcing, sometimes you're ring announcing, sometimes it's me and Paul on the mic. How does that feel doing ring announcing too? Is ring announcing something you've always wanted to do, or is it more just like commentary based?
So commentary was more something that I had been just doing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I ring announced a handful of times for like a show here and there.
Yeah.
I've been really feeling like I'm getting into more of the groove now with the ring announcing at 880.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different beast because you're so front facing all the time with the audience and with people. That's something where, I kind of, benefited for a long time as a commentator, being somebody who like the live audience might hear me or whatever, but it's like you're kind of somewhat faceless and like you fade into the somewhat background, obviously not fully, but like I haven't really tested out a lot of those hosting skills, and so like that's been something that I've been really loving getting to do. Toddy's been super helpful with that. Toddy's a total pro in terms of that.
We love Toddy, yes.
I'm stealing all of his tricks in terms of warming up an audience and all that stuff. And it's been a good challenge for me to like, try something else in my arsenal.
I could tell too, because like every week more and more, it feels like the dynamic with 880. We were talking about this a little bit before actually we started recording today. The dynamic of 880 within the broadcasting team alone, I feel like is vastly improved. Like it feels like I feel a lot more comfortable as a broadcaster now. Obviously you're doing ring announcing more full time. Toddy's kind of running the whole show now. Paul's on board. I like the dynamic we have there.
It feels so well oiled. Like I've and I've had good experiences elsewhere 100%. I've just been really loving how everyone from the four of us on like commentary ring announcing side, and then also backstage, and just like it feels like everything is collaborative, and it feels we're bouncing off of each other, like you said, in a way that's like really like healthy, and just like the vibe is just so where I feel like it should be. I think 880, in particular with the weekly shows too, it's like getting in those reps as well, I think helps a lot, doing it every Thursday. And like, I've been really proud of like the production element of what we've been able to do over there. Like it's been really cool.
Oh, it's so much better too. And I love the fact too that like now that we have such a wide range of different people who can do commentary, can do ring announcing. It's nice for me too because it allows me to explore other stuff too, like backstage interviews, which is something I've been recently doing too. And then obviously John, unfortunately.
Sure. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's a whole different story for a different day. But obviously I've been kind of having to deal with that whole bit with Casey War. So like it's cool too because like we all just have the stress of being like, oh, we have to do this one position only. Yeah. Like we can always bounce around a little bit, which is so cool.
And be creative about it. And like, the thing I love about independent wrestling in particular, I'm sure wrestling in general, but really with independent wrestling, like the collaboration of ideas, I love working with very creative people. Like I don't consider myself typically like a very like creative person. I'm much more of just like give me a plan and I'm a loyal workhorse. But like it allows me to sort of like scratch that itch in many regards when you have someone who like really is intelligent and can think of something that's like so creative and so like and seeing it then executed and like come to fruition. It's like it's the coolest feeling.
It's so cool. I do gotta ask though, what's is there maybe a favorite moment you've had since you've been at 880? Is it like a favorite match, maybe a favorite thing you've called?
Oh, that's a good
I'm gonna point out something that you did that I thought was really cool first while you're thinking
about
that.
Please go ahead.
I loved when you had the flashlight on the Halloween
that
episode.
was so fun. Yeah.
When you pitched that, I was like, oh my God, that's going to be so cool. And then like everybody felt the Halloween vibe that night. I was like, yes, this is exactly what we needed.
Because I was like, well, it's a Halloween show and it's like, you got to do something special or whatever. I always miss Halloween typically. My husband Merlin is much more in that realm typically.
The Halloween stuff.
Like he'll pick up the slack for me like 100%, be like, you're wearing this. And like I was trying to think of something, I didn't have it like in time to like come before that show. And then I like, I had literally just, my husband made me watch like the Scream series, like right before, because it's like, and I was like, wait, this is a perfect idea. Let me do the flashlight. It just is, it's a little kooky. It's a little like campy vibe. And like, I'm glad it executed the way that it did on camera and the photos look good. So,
oh yeah, they were amazing.
And that was a rare time where it's like, I'm typically not the creative, and I don't like come up with an idea more than anything. So I was very happy when that executed. I was like, yay, it's somewhere in there. It's somewhere in that brain.
You can get behind that. But what was maybe some favorite calls, favorite moments?
Oh God.
880?
I don't, that's a good question. Our run, we had like a good 2-month run on commentary that I really enjoyed a lot. In terms of, I really loved the series. I think I called a couple matches on it. The home run tournament that we did around the fall. Because I also did ring announcing in that regard. Having that sort of that sports feel, and I think like that competition side was really cool to exhibit in terms of things. I think one of the first big 880 shows, and I can't remember if I was on commentary for the match or not, but was they had Blizzy Blake and Facade.
Yes.
And that
was what a match.
That I keep talking about that. I think that was one of my favorite matches of the year.
I think that was me and you actually. That was.
It might have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
That flow on that was so good, and the energy that built upon that match, and getting to see somebody like Blizzy, he was one who I wasn't really super familiar with, coming into when I moved to Pittsburgh, right? Mm-hmm. The scene. And one of the coolest things for me with independent wrestling is seeing somebody who's working hard and coming on the way up. And especially when you're backstage and you're behind the scenes and you see someone who's setting up rings and, doing what they can, and they finally get that moment. That's the coolest feeling. And I feel like Blizzy really had that. And I think since then has become such a staple for the company. And so that's the one that immediately implants in the mind. But honestly, every week there's been at least one match from a Thursday night fight where I'm like, damn, that's one of the best things I've seen in a while. If anyone's hasn't been watching lately 880, please, this is the right time to do it. It's been fantastic.
Oh yeah, tune in IndieWrestling.us online. Go to 829 Industry Street in person. Free shows every Thursday. Got to make it happen.
And if you're a fan, if you're loving here in Austin, you get to hear Austin more often. So
you get to hear me more if you're not sick of me already. Go over to 880 Wrestling every week. No, it's great, and I love some of those matches too. The home run tournament was so cool because I come from more of a sports background too. I'm going to school for sports communications, and I've called other sports before too. So when the idea came about doing the home run tournament, they're like, "Hey, add a bit of a sports feel on it. MV Young's exact words to me was, be the Greg Brown of 880." And I said, "Okay, I could do that probably."
It's those times where it's you find that thing that's and you get to play off of it. It's the best feeling.
And I think it paid off too amazingly. Whenever we did the World Series show, that was actually the one on the roof with the Penn Brewery, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What a sight! Oh my gosh, the city skyline.
Oh yeah. That was the cool. I still say it to this day. That was the coolest visual that I've ever had. I've not done a lot of outdoor big shows in terms of that regard. So that was having the skyline of a big city like Pittsburgh in the background. It's the coolest feeling in the world. And so I also just love the general even though it's not my typical vibe, if anyone who knows me, I'm much more put together. But the grungy vibe of 880, I've always really appreciated. It was a lot of what when I was working with Inspire in Texas, a lot of that vibe too, because downtown Austin was very similar in terms of the artistic vibes and people who were doing things that were a little outside of the typical spectrum. And so I've been really, again, it's hit that itch for me in terms of pro wrestling again.
Since we're on the topic of 880, let's talk about the current state of 880. What's your thoughts on some of the guys in the back? I mean, obviously, when I'd had this conversation with Toddy not so long ago, we talked about how there's dead hand running around, there's leaders running around, there's jocks running around. It's still kind of that same vibe, but it feels like they've grown more. So I don't know.
I know, which I don't know if that's better or worse. A lot of people, kind of riding high in that regard. I think talent-wise, I will say, I think, I can't speak to, certain past years, but I think it's really at one of the best levels. I think, I think if you go back, I remember the December show that we just recently had, Nix and Brandon for the 880 championship. Yes. I thought that match was something that you could tour with. I think it's something that, you can build a company on. Seeing guys like them and Casey and, MV in particular, who's such a workhorse, and up and down the card, people getting to really just showcase their talents. Like it's been, I think, one of the better creative times I've gotten to experience and work with. Like, and when you're at that point where it's like you're running on all cylinders and everything's working, it's like the best feeling in the world. So, yeah, I think talent-wise, it's like bar none. As much as I might have a lot to say, as you would, about leaders and.
Oh, don't worry, I'm going to.
Yeah, I don't put it past you. I'm glad you're out of the neck brace and everything.
Yeah, we're feeling good.
Yeah, good. Range of motion's good. Their ability to get under people's skin and the heat that they generate is next to none. Like right now, it's been fun and seeing. I will say also the talents that are also younger who are getting more opportunities there, who have also come up through the training there as well. Department of Jocks, even though I get.
You get tortured by them. Oh my god.
Chug is. I know you. The coat rack thing is bad. You don't want to be in the ring for when Chug is like this close to you.
You know what? Now that you say that, I actually feel more bad for you because you got to actually have Chug like dancing up.
And
on
I have
you.
nowhere to go. Like it's the worst feeling. But no, the guy like them, Dev, Jim, people like Elijah, Adrian Kirsch, who have like gotten opportunities to really like do more and like showcase themselves. I love just seeing, I don't know, going back to it, I love seeing someone click and like get it, and like it's a gratifying feeling for, I know, a promoter and for a coach, but I think for like the whole locker room, like when those ships get raised and like people have these moments. Like I know Jim had that moment recently with Knicks in that title match. Like I'm really grateful to see people also get their dreams lived out, right? Because I'm sure they have very similar stories to us in that regard. So
it's always a rewarding feeling too. Like whenever I pull back the curtain a little bit, when I did my spot with John, obviously the second I got backstage, round of applause, and I was I was on cloud nine. I was like, whoa, there's no way we just perfectly executed that exactly the way we came up with it. So like I can only imagine how the wrestlers feel every single time out there.
Oh yeah. Like it's the best feeling. Like I've done a little like stuff where I had to do more storyline stuff in the past for companies, and that, I mean, it's intimidating, but like once you get that approval, like it's the best feeling. Like the approval from your peers, I think, is honestly like the coolest thing to get, whether from like a commentary perspective, but also like that side as well.
And I think it's cool too, because at 880 they stand out compared to other wrestling companies, and this is no disrespect to any of the other ones, but 880 obviously they're weekly. A lot of these other companies are monthly or every other month. I think VCW is only a couple times.
We're doing like I believe every like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, VCW's every like 2 or 3 months. IWC's every month. Rise, whatever situation they have going on, they're usually every month. So like every company is like they're once a month kind of thing. But for us, it's great because we get the weekly reps, have the chance to have like weekly matches, weekly calls, weekly storylines. And I feel like there's really no other company in Pittsburgh that's doing that right now. And I've talked to Sorg actually about this. Other companies that have tried in the past failed miserably at this.
Yeah, it's difficult, right? It's 100% difficult. There's a lot of trust that goes into that too. And I think with independent wrestling, it's also hard because you have so many horror stories.
Oh yeah,
and so many like that's part of why there's so many bad stories in that regard in terms of it. But like when you have that trust built and you've developed that rhythm to where you can do things that are like maybe more storytelling based and because sometimes I totally get it for companies. I think Victory Championship Wrestling, for example, does a fantastic job of like really building to shows and marketing and like they pack those buildings and they do fantastic work and they lay everything out. I think with 880, like you're saying, like it's more, they can build more story and they can build more sort of like sort of like tissue in that regard, right? Where like these characters are getting developed in certain ways, and getting like you said, to test things too, right? Because sometimes it's the word. I can only imagine like when you have like this idea in mind, it doesn't execute when you built it to such a level, but when you can sort of like adjust, like it's so much better in that regard. So yeah, I totally think like having the weekly shows is very beneficial. Like when I was down in Texas, for Metroplex Wrestling in Dallas, they also were doing weekly shows, and they had their own. It's basically like an old area of a strip mall that they like bought out and just like repurposed into their own venue essentially, and very similar to that 880 model, and the camaraderie in that locker room and that sort of like bonding that happens is something, you see across wrestling, but it's something there that I thought was very special, and I'm seeing it a lot mirrored with 880 in that regard.
Oh yeah, and it's cool too that 880 also has like different chapters in different locations.
Right.
There was the New Ken era, which personally I was only at one show as a fan. Then there was the Shop era, which is where we both came whenever we both started there. And then now they're at the warehouse. And then they also go to like the Penn Brewery and does like other locations sometimes too. So like I like the dynamic of being in different locations too. Like you can be like, okay, here's chapter 1 of 880, chapter 2, chapter 3. So,
and it also like builds around the city too.
Yes.
Like I love the Pittsburgh nature of that, right? Because when a city like Pittsburgh that has so much character to it, like you are able to do that, and it's like it adds an extra element to things, and I really enjoy that.
Is there any future plans or future goals of maybe doing some work other places, or are you pretty comfortable right now with 880?
I would love to. Please book me.
There we go.
No, I would love to. Like, like I said, I think the last couple years being in Pittsburgh now, like, kind of has reinvigorated a passion in many regards, and I've been really loving getting to test out things more, getting feedback from people too, and like hearing from people who maybe have only known me for like a handful of times or whatever, and saying, oh, your work's actually really good. Like, it's been really gratifying. And so like it makes me think like they weren't just blowing smoke up my ass in Texas. So I'm very happy with whatever comes my way going forward. I want to, going back to it, like I just want to contribute and help a company wherever I can. I think that's what I've set out as my goal in terms of what I do in wrestling more than anything.
I totally agree with that. Like, whatever position you have, take that and make it the best that you possibly can.
Yep, 100%.
So, one of the best pieces of wrestling advice that I was ever given was whatever position that you take on in wrestling, make it to where you're making somebody else's job easier.
100%.
And I'm like, yes, that is so true. If you're making somebody else's job easier, your job's going to be so much easier.
And anyone in the business knows that there is nothing worse than anyone who is making your job harder. Like that is you are 100% right on that. And that was something that like Biss really put into me when I was in Texas. Like, you are here to just it's like you do your best, right? No one's expecting you to be perfect. No one's expecting you to hit it out of the park 100% of the time. That's unrealistic, right? It's about doing everything that you can to help the situation. And that is like, what, especially from a commentary perspective, that's what I always have in the back of my mind. Am I doing this? Does this further what those people in the ring and the promoter in the back want executed? You know what I mean? And when you have that as the base, right, you're going to be fine 100% of the time. And you can also make some really good magic from that. So yeah, I think you're 100% right on that. That is the 100%.
Oh yeah, because like once you build the fundamentals around it, and like you understand, like, okay, hey, listen, our job is to tell the story at the end of the day. Which, don't get me wrong, I love being involved in other stuff as well. Yeah. But like I understand that my role and your role is that, okay, hey, we have to tell these people's stories the way they want to perceive it. Mm-hmm. And then for not even just the people there, for the people at home, the people that's actually watching, that's our job, is to tell those people, hey, this guy you should be rooting for, and this is why you should be rooting for him. And this guy did this last week, so this is why you should not like him. You should not cater to him. And this guy right here, he has a really cool story and a really cool background, but now he wants to reach championship goal that he never got in his whole career. It's all about telling stories.
Yeah, and you're the guide, right, in many respects. Yes. And some of the best, you think of the best wrestling moments, it's 100% the guys in the ring, like in the work that they do, 100%. But you think of like the feelings that you have and the emotions that like get spurred up in terms of those moments, and you almost forget that voice in the background, like when you were watching when you were younger, in terms of that. And then I will watch things back and I'm just like, man, like that 100% is what got me. It's like a call that JR made, or a call that, that just like take something that like, I'm big on metaphors. It's like seasoning and cooking, right? Mm-hmm. You're taking something that has already a lot of flavor, but you are just bumping it up a little bit more. And like, that's that's the magic of it, right? You know, and it doesn't mean that like you have to necessarily, you know, it's that balance of also being like a straight man commentator versus like having character or whatever. But it's like, it's just doing what you love. I think for me going through commentary, like if you listen to my early stuff, I think it's fine. I'm very boisterous because I was genuinely marking out at a lot of times because I was still a fan, right?
Yeah.
In many regards. I think I have tampered it while not losing that spark of, wow, this is really cool. And sometimes like I'm watching a match and something really cool happens and I can figuring out how to like deliver that emotion that you're feeling in a way that still is like educating and like, you know, like I think fans feed off of that, right? You know, it's like it's having someone be like, no, what I'm seeing is also really cool, you know? So yeah, 100%. You know,
it's funny. I had this conversation with Corey Graves, like something similar. 'Cause he's my professor at Point Park.
It's so cool, by the way.
It's amazing. It's so cool because like I have him on Wednesdays and then wrestling's on Thursday night fights. Like Thursday night fights are on Thursdays. So like literally the night before, I'll just be like, I'll ask him for advice. I'll be like, hey, I'm doing this tomorrow. How should I do this? What should I say here? Like,
yeah.
And it's just so cool having his wisdom with it. And one of our assignments recently in this class was actually to find a broadcaster that's not wrestling related and see which ones tell a good story. Because the entire point that Corey's trying to get across is, hey, yes, wrestling commentators, we tell stories, we help build characters, but other broadcasters should apply that to football, should apply that to basketball.
Yep.
Bring up their stories during the heat of a match, during the heat of a game. And the first person that came to mind actually was Mike Tirico in the NFL. When the Ravens and Steelers had that game, the Tyler Lute missed field goal, you probably remember that. It was great.
Yeah.
Because Tirico told an amazing story about, okay, hey, this is what the Steelers need to do. This is how long Mike Tom has been coaching. This is how many years of missing the playoffs happened. Lamar Jackson, he came back from injury. Everyone counted the Ravens out beginning of the year, and now they're here. This is what the game matters. And that final call was just amazing. And honestly, the game was better because of Tirico making those calls. Just like the WWE, it's better with calls from Michael Cole and JR, Corey Graves, et cetera, et cetera.
You're 100% right about like taking that some, like I when I was starting, I was like, what should I study, right? Like in terms of that. And a lot of it is wrestling tape, like certain people in the business will give you. Like some of the best stuff I've seen is from sports in terms of that. I've been very much like on my Olympic kick right now. It sounds like a very like niche thing, and maybe something a lot of people in the wrestling industry like wouldn't go to and watch. I was watching Olympic figure skating. It is one of the best in terms of storytelling and narrative, and like it's so much cooler also seeing when a move gets hit. I'm talking like it's wrestling. And seeing a commentator build it up and sort of like the story behind it, and like you said, tie in their personal stories in that regard. Anyone who's like wanting to start out or do something like that, something even obscure like that, or even like football or anything like that, like go and look and see how it makes you feel, and then like I think it gets you an understanding of what the goal and the mission is, right? Overall, right? Because the mission's the same at the end of the day.
Because once you shine up the talent or shine up whatever is going on the field or on the ice or whatever sport you're watching, and you have good stories to tell during the heat.
Yeah, and you have with wrestling, you have more. I would argue you have more material, right? Like. Because the whole debate of like wrestling being a sport or an art, I think it's both, right? At the end of the day. But that art element gives you so much more to add on to, right? But you can. It should be artistic, called in a way that's similar to sport. Is how I kind of view it in my head, in that regard. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I love the way that the story is being told too down at 880 right now. I feel like again, like with our ties, like my sports background, Paul's sports background, and then obviously you and Toddy being experienced, we all just bounce all those ideas off each other and make some magic happen.
100%. It's so cool to like understand where everyone's going and sort of like have this idea of, well, let me sell this point or whatever. Like and again, like getting compliments from like performers who are like that. For my experience in doing commentary, the best experience moments is when someone comes up to you after a show and be like, hey, thank you so much for noting this or pointing this out or whatever. Like that's the gratifying thing, right? Because it's like you're you're putting your a lot of wrestlers, they put their careers in each other's hands, but you're also putting your careers in the hands of the organization and the commentary and all that stuff. And so, when they feel satisfied from it, it makes me really happy.
Was there any commentators that you liked growing up that you try to base your commentary style off of a little bit?
So like, again, like a lot of like studying from like old stuff. I was also retroactively, because I started watching in 2002, but like I then went back and like just
kind of
binged everything. I used to, if my early commentary run, I modeled myself a lot off of Joey Styles in the beginning.
Interesting. That's a good one.
But he was more good at that line, that moment that you would play in an ad, that you would put in a package, that you would like, which I think is a very underrated thing. Biss like really guided me towards like, the Gorilla Monsoons and like the more traditionalist sort of stuff, which I think is very important in terms of getting the fundamentals in terms of it. Because I also think sometimes your favorites when you're younger too are also the more colorful characters naturally, 100%.
Yeah, like the Jerry Lawlers, JBLs, or the Pat McAfee's for the newer fans.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And those are very crucial. And if you have, again, I typically never viewed myself as someone having a lot of charisma, so I never thought I could do that in that respects. But I also think it's important to know how to play off that person. You know what I mean? And like do the back and forth. So like that is also critical. I mean, like I mentioned Gorilla. Like it's less even just Gorilla, but like Gorilla and Bobby. Like that sort of like give and take that they did to where they became such a recognizable unit with each other. You know what I mean? Similar to like a Jerry Lawler. Like, they're you can't visualize them without each other in that respect, and that's because of the chemistry that they built through the dance that they were playing. And so a lot of stuff like that is like kind of what I pull from in many respects.
I feel like Cool and Corey's kind of at that level now too.
Yeah.
But I'm not just saying that because Corey's my professor, obviously. But no, I feel like Cool and Corey's there too, because like Corey's been doing like a lot more like play-by-play with AAA, and then he's also done play-by-play on SmackDown a couple of times. So now that like he kind of has like that both play-by-play and color experience, he can bounce off Michael Cool a lot better. And Michael Cool knows like, hey, I can actually have a lot of the work taken off me. It's
right,
not just
exactly.
like a former wrestler.
Exactly. Once you find that groove and like you said, it's like that's when I also very in the early goings felt like I had to talk all the time.
Yeah.
And like,
yes,
like
same here.
Because it's like, I have to, part of it's like a level of like proving yourself in a certain respect, but also like, it's you feel like so excitable and in the moment. And the best part is allowing yourself to have the team in which to where you have a second, because like when you're excitable and you're in the moment, like that's when you flub more than anything. But like having the second to sort of like compose what you're going to say next or be observant too. Like that's the other thing is like, me and Austin were talking about this before recording, like being observant in a match and sort of, seeing how a wrestler takes it. Because that's the other thing with wrestling is that so much of it is on the fly. You can plan out whatever, right? But if a crowd's not reacting a certain way, or if, something happens that forces someone to change or whatever, they're going to adjust. And being present enough in the moment to see the adjustment and, capitalize off of it, I think is really cool. I remember noting to you, I think it was at the January show, Kings of the Cold.
I think I know where you're going. Yeah.
There was it was MV Young and Edric Everhart, and there's a pin that I can't remember if it was MV on Edric or Edric on MV, and like he like lets off of it of a second, and MV's able, or I think it was MV, able to get the ropes or whatever, and you called it, and I was like, yes, that's exactly what is the thing that like those were the moments when I was doing that kind of stuff. I knew I was getting it, where it was like pointing out how a cover affects, things like shoulder placement, things like, footing in a match, like little things like that can really make something into something so much bigger and like more important. And it's not just, the stuff you're coming into a match with on the surface, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so like I was very when you said that on the call, I was like, yes, that's 100% it.
Thank you.
And so yeah, letting a match flow and feel, and because those, like I said, they're artists, and so having their art being told in that way is like, I think, super vital to professional wrestling.
That's why I went down to the training class actually for both of the companies I do work for, because I'm like, you know what, I kind of want to put myself in like their shoes for a second and see what they're feeling and see like how I can explain that a little better on commentary. Because like the average person, I mean, you see them put it like, I don't know, a sharpshooter, for example. Like you put a sharpshooter on someone, if you just say, oh, the sharpshooter's locked in, okay, cool, it's just a wrestling move. But if you add like a little more context, be like, oh, the sharpshooter's locked in, he's far away from the ropes, he has to tap here, he has to crawl, he has to make his way, his legs, it's going to his lower back now, pressure. Like if you break it down, it's like, oh my gosh, like this move's gonna break his lower back.
Right, because you're explaining and also explaining to that audience what it means and what it does. Yeah. Right, like, you know, that's the other thing too. Like, you know, I kind of learned at a certain point too, like going up to wrestlers in the back sometimes and just being like, hey, what do you want from me in terms of this? What is there anything that you want me to like make the point to emphasize or get over? And it's funny, like, you know, you'll see even younger talents sometimes who are maybe like a year or so in, like sort of think for a second and be like, oh, I've never really been like asked about that a lot.
Yeah.
And so like that, it allows them to, you know, kind of find other things, right? So, you know, I you know, it goes back to that collaborative process, right? Like, I think everyone has a role to play to a certain respect, and so when you're all working together, it's like the best feeling.
Yeah, when you're all working together, you can make magic out of it. And my one pet peeve though at times is, especially with a lot of the younger talents, I'll be like, okay, so what do you want me to do here? Do you want me to tell this kind of story, or like who's going over, how's this happening? And they're like, I don't know, surprise me. I'm like, no, don't. I'm like, no, I don't want to surprise you.
Yeah, you might not like the surprise.
I was like, because if you're giving me full control over it, I mean, like, I'm telling your story. I'm like, no, I want you to tell me how I should tell your story.
Exactly, right? You know, and like, so, and also, you know, I've done it before where it's like I'll pick up on a thing that someone wasn't even intending and they'll run with it in terms of that regard. So it's like things like that. Like, you know, it's a very important element, and I think, you know, as long as. And you know this, obviously, like you're a total pro with it, where it's like as long as you take the pride in it in terms of like how much it means to other people and how much it means to the people in the ring, like I think then you're in a really good place in terms of that.
For sure. I've asked this question to a lot of people, and I want to get your thoughts on it because I think I've asked Toddy this, I've asked Joe Dombrowski this, so since you also done business with multiple other companies, I'd love to get your perspective. What's your thoughts on wrestling tribalism? Does it exist in your mind? Have you experienced it? Have you witnessed it? What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, probably on a fan level. I mean, I've seen it like in you know, many regards. I think some of it is maybe too over amplified, and it built like, I think at the end of the day, from a fan's perspective, I think wrestling fans are wrestling fans in many respects. They just like, they might express it in different ways or whatever, but like, you know, I think intrinsically we all love the same thing, and you know, that's something we should always keep in mind in that respect. From like a backstage perspective, it can be. Maybe I'm naive. I feel like it's getting better, like in certain respects. Like when I started in Texas, like things were very, there was some backbiting, and there was some like, you know, we're gonna do the like it's very toxic to a certain respect, and I think some of that is like attributed to just the business, and it's like that's what you do. You're in competition with each other or whatever. I found things to be much more collaborative as years have gone on, and that I appreciate, because I do think it's, at the end of the day, like, you know, we're doing this to, again, typically on an independent level, unless you don't have the finances or the larger goals of building something that can rival like a WWE or an AEW or whatever, you're trying to make the scene better than what you came in with it. Mm-hmm. And so when I think for that being the mentality, like should lead to collaboration. That should lead to putting differences aside in many regards. So, and again, it's probably a naive position. Like I'm typically that person, by the way, where people have to point stuff out to me afterwards. I'm like, oh, okay. But like, you know, I think I I struggled in the beginning when I was in wrestling for a couple years of just like, can we just all work together? Like, can we just like, we're all just trying to help each other out. And so, I think it's getting better. I 100% think it's getting better, but of course there's still some elements.
Oh yeah, I think it's getting better too, and I feel like it's more tough for wrestlers than it is like us broadcasters.
Sure, in
that regard, like, oh snap, like I don't know what this company's gonna say if I go compete here, or I don't know if this. But like with us, it's just kind of like, hey, we just want to put our input on it, and our jobs as broadcasters is to make the company better. In terms of like telling the stories for the people at home. So I feel like it's a lot less worrisome for us, but some of the wrestlers out there, I've heard some horror stories.
Yeah, we've got the benefit of that 100%.
We got the benefit of the doubt. Earlier in the episode, we were talking about obviously like how me and you worked together at 880 for a little bit, and I usually like to ask this question to some of the people that I'm close with behind the scenes at like wrestling, and I would love to get your thoughts on this live on the podcast if you don't mind. What was your first impression of me whenever I joined 880? Because correct me if I'm wrong, we came in right around the same time, right?
I think literally the same week or whatever. I if I'm not mistaken.
I think you were a week or two before me because I was running camera at the time.
That's what it was. Yeah, you were there, but 100%. This is gonna sound so corny, and I don't mean it to be 100% at all.
Go ahead.
It literally was like looking in a mirror from when I started, like 100%. Like you, and honestly, probably you look better than I was at that time, but like no, it's because I mean like you're about the same age as when I started, right? And so I was just grateful. It made me feel old,
yes,
but two, like it put me in perspective of how far I've come for like in terms of, because I don't know, I think aesthetically as well, but it's like I look at myself as still that 20-year-old, right? In certain respects. And to see how much you cared as much as I cared back then, and seeing like your willingness to like help. Like I think that's I think we were alluding to it earlier.
Yeah.
Like if you are somewhat of a mentality where you just want to do what is best for people, you're in the right place. And I think that you are in the exact right place to be. And like you were always asking for advice, and you were always like asking questions, and like being like wanting to do the best you possibly can. And I think sometimes that doesn't come with certain people, and like unfortunately, and it's not against those people, sometimes you're just not in that place or whatever, but you always had that, and that's why it was so comfortable getting to work with you, right? Because it's like we both have the same ideas in mind. We both are worried about the same things to a certain respect.
Yeah.
We both are, when something goes wrong, it's like we're both kind of thinking the same thing in terms of it.
Yeah, during the production meetings, we'll both kind of look at each other and be like, oh yeah, like I was thinking the same thing you were. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so like, yeah, I just think like it's been really particularly gratifying to work with you, because like I see so much of myself in the way that you have been coming up in the last less than a year now that we've been working together. It's just been so cool. And again, like I said, you are far and away. Like, I mean, I could imagine doing calling an AEW. Like when you share that with me, I'm just like, holy crap! Like, I couldn't even imagine like. And just from a bravery perspective too, like, I'm not brave enough to be like, hey, like.
Honestly, as someone who did it, I still don't think I'm brave enough to do it, because I just kind of got shoved out there.
Well, yeah, but
it was great.
Yeah, but to even be in that space, right? Like, it's like, you are putting yourself in all the places that you should be, and you're doing the work, and like, I'm internally grateful because you are such a vital partner in terms of this.
Thank you, and I appreciate those comments, and thank you for all the kind words as well, and like advice you gave me early on as well, because like I said, you were the first person I worked with at 880. Yeah. And then before that, the only other wrestling company I've called was one IWC show.
Yeah.
So like my introduction to 880 was actually working with you. So thank you for being a great broadcast partner
awesome,
as well.
Man.
It's always great. I have one final question for you today. And I asked this question to literally everybody, and I have a feeling you may know this question, maybe not. It's totally not wrestling related whatsoever.
Oh,
so you know. What is the go-to restaurant for Eamon Paton? What is your favorite place to grab a meal?
Oh, God. Oh, gee. Oh,
we're going there. I'm a foodie.
Oh, okay. So
it could be anywhere.
I'll keep it to Pittsburgh because I've been thinking about this a lot. I have been missing, one thing I miss about Texas is the Mexican food. And Pittsburgh, I can see Pittsburgh is very much trying. I fully acknowledge it. I fully acknowledge the effort. When I was in Corpus Christi, that's South Texas, so it's like there's so intrinsic. I need you guys to figure out the breakfast taco because I feel like I haven't had a good one here, and that's my only struggle. But the taquerias, there are certain taquerias here that I do really enjoy. It's a chain, sort of. I like Doce Taqueria. Like there's one in Bridgeville that I've been going to a lot. Has a very solid fish taco. If you are a Texas transplant coming to Pittsburgh and you are missing that as much as I am right now, that's where I would go to. I again, also living in Texas for so much, anything Mexican, is typically my safe space in many regards.
Yeah, fish taco?
It was a fish taco.
Fish taco, okay.
Their queso was very good. Also, queso typically anywhere past Texas, it's a little iffy. But yes, I'm still looking for that one particular cozy spot, but yes, that's the one that at least reminds me of home enough.
Okay, so Mexican food's like the go-to for you then, I'm assuming.
Yes, 100%. Like I need some classic and in Corpus Christi we had sort of again strip mall down on its luck places that had some of the best Mexican food. So again, that's what I've been craving personally.
Does Moe's and Chipotle count or no?
Moe's is not bad.
Okay.
I do like Chipotle. We had Chipotle also down south, and it's Moe's is not bad. I do appreciate Moe's. I'm more of a Qdoba guy, but there's only one, and it's in Southside.
Okay.
I think they need to build more, but yes, I would say.
I went to a Mexican bar in the South Side, actually. It was a Night of an Enjoy show. Just I got down there a little sooner. It was actually pretty good. I forget what it was called. It was very far down.
I feel like I know what you're talking about.
26th or 27th Street.
Okay.
It was down there.
Yeah, I feel like I know what you're talking about, but I can't pinpoint the name of it.
Yeah, I can't pinpoint the name of it either, but it was nice. It was a nice little place.
Yeah, some of the
quesadillas were good.
Some of the underground places are doing a decent enough job, but yeah, it's again, still a little bit of a struggle.
A little bit of a struggle. I'm not the biggest Mexican kind of food guy. I'm a more of a burger fry.
Yeah.
I love my burgers. That's where I thrive.
Yeah, 100%. Again, a good go-to.
And I bring this one up all the time. Brazilian Steakhouse, Texas de Brazil.
I do like a good Brazilian steakhouse. I also, every time we go to VCW in West Virginia, we always make the production crew there always makes the point to stop at Texas Roadhouse, and they think that that's their way of bonding me to home. It's we have Texas Roadhouses everywhere. It's not that,
Are you talking about the one in what's the town called?
There's one in Triadelphia. Is that what it's called? Am I pronouncing that right? I've been here for 3 years.
Well, it's funny you say that because on our way to VCW, Carl and I actually stopped at Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, you serious? Okay, yeah.
That's what I thought was so funny.
No, that's the one we always go to. Oh yeah, 100%.
The one 15 minutes away from the place, right?
Yeah.
15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, it's and they don't give you if you go to old Texas Roadhouses, they would have the bucket of peanuts or whatever. They don't do that anymore because of allergies or whatever. But Sorg constantly is oh, we're back in Texas. I'm sort of okay.
I mean, kind of.
Sure.
I made them rolls with the butter. Oh my god.
Yes, I do appreciate.
I got
rolls.
4 of them before I got my steak. It was great.
Whatever they call their bloomin' onion, go for it. 100%.
It was funny because when Carl and I actually went to Texas Roadhouse, my mom gave me this little gift certificate, and it said that you could get one free sidekick, either ribs or shrimp. And I'm not a seafood guy. I'm very vocal about that. But I don't mind ribs. So I told Kevin, I was like, hey, what we should do is you should order your steak, I'll order my steak, and then we'll get this free sidekick because it comes with a free entree. Well, it comes with an entree, and we'll have ribs. So our table was just covered. I'll put a picture up on the screen for the viewers to look, but
please do.
I'm going to show you a picture of it right now, get a live reaction to this. I have never seen a table at Texas Roadhouse that's this covered before. This is what we ate.
Oh, yeah.
That table was covered.
Yeah, especially, and we would have typically we would have an 8-top at VCW. So it's everyone's crammed in. It's
Oh yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but yeah.
Hey, food is food.
Food.
I love me some food. Fuego de Chow's over in the city too. That's another good steakhouse.
I do like Fuego de Chow's, 100%.
There's actually a running joke on the podcast. My co-host Lucas Coons, who isn't here at the moment, when we interviewed Duke Davis together, Duke was like, I love Fuego de Chow. I love the Texas de Brazil. Love the steakhouse. And I've talked about that with other wrestlers like Joe Dombrowski, Derek and Katie. We all love the steakhouse. That's the go-to. But for some reason, Lucas and his dumbass didn't decide to go. So Lucas, if you're listening, you better go to the steakhouse. And Duke said he was going to choke him out if he did not go.
Yeah, so please do. Please.
Because Duke Davis, That's the last person you want to piss off.
Absolutely not. I also make a side note of one food related thing.
Okay.
I like Primanti's.
Hey, that's good.
And since I came up here, there were so many like locals who were just like, I'm so sick of it. Like I can't do it anymore. I enjoy Primanti's. The only thing is that Primanti's doesn't deliver well. You have to have it in restaurant because they never I don't know why they don't cut the sandwiches, by the way, for delivery. It's weird, but I will do a Primanti sandwich. I still don't understand the Pittsburgh salad.
The Pittsburgh salad?
The fries on the salad.
You don't understand that?
Not for salad. I like there's potato salad, but I don't get potato with like a leafy green salad. I don't understand.
I'll explain it to you. We just put French fries on everything. We put on our sandwiches. We put it in our salad. We put it everywhere.
The classic go-to.
Pizza, you name it.
100%.
I don't know why. I mean, I just do it. It's normal for me.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh salad. Have you ever had bacon lettuce?
No, I have not.
It's like my mom makes it really good. It's like lettuce mixed with bacon and like a couple other things, and like there's just like sauce in it.
Not bad. Okay, yeah.
Whenever you said that, I thought about that. I was like bacon lettuce.
I'll definitely have to look that up.
Okay, yeah. I don't think I've ever asked anyone that one. Bacon lettuce. It's good. It's fire.
I will be making it tonight.
You'll be making it tonight. There we go. Primanti's is solid though because like I was sick of it for a while too because like we have a camp that we go to every weekend in the summer, and every time we would come home, Primanti's is on the way, so we would always stop at Primanti's, and I got sick of it for a year, so I'm like, I'm not eating this shit ever again.
Yeah.
And then recently, there's a Primanti's actually in Market Square, and I've been going to that one a lot more. I'm like, okay, never mind, this is actually good. I can get back into Primanti's again.
It's a solid sandwich. And also if you're coming up to Pittsburgh and you're from out of the city, like you have to go once.
Oh, you gotta go.
Yeah,
it's great. Pepe's over in North Shore is also pretty good.
I've heard good things about Pepe's. Yeah,
Pepe's is good. My favorite restaurant though, if you want to hear it, City Works. I'm gonna name it right now, right down in Market Square. It used to be Texas Roadhouse for the longest time, but City Works takes the cake. I love it down there.
I also have heard good things.
I spent my birthday down there, so it was good.
Nice. Yeah.
It was a good time. Eamon, I appreciate you so much for taking the time to come down here today.
Thank you,
on the
Austin.
podcast. I want to give you the chance, though. Any final words? I know you have a podcast as well, if you wanted to shout that out as
Yes, yeah. Well, thank you for having me, 100%. My podcast I have is with my partner, Merlin. We do a podcast called A Gay and His Enby. It is, if you're a fan of reality television, maybe there's some crossover appeal here. If you're a fan of reality television, we talk about it on our podcast. It's out every Sunday, sometimes Mondays if we have a big week of stuff to talk about. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just about anywhere you can listen to podcasts. And yeah, that's it's if you're into that kind of stuff, please give it a listen because we would love to have you as well.
Awesome. Well, Eamon, thank you so much. We'll make sure we leave links to all that too and tag you in all the social media pages. So
Absolutely.
Make that happen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I am Austin Cairns. That right there is Eamon Paton. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.